Female government ministers clear up the referendum date dispute.
Final finds. BTC pays off almost $1 million and says it won't happen again.
And Government League basketball could almost be a wrap. Find out if the police hold off elimination. The Bahamas Tonight, the National Report, starts now.
Now in HD. ZNS Network presents The Bahamas Tonight. This portion of the news brought to you by BTC Every Day.
The headline says one thing, but the people being quoted say another. Good evening, I'm Kendeno, Knowles.
And I'm Opal, Roach. Well, members of Parliament for Angliston, Yamakroa and Seabreeze want to make sure that there is no misunderstanding about what they said. A local daily said the MPs Glenys, Hanna-Martin, Melanie Griffin and Hope Strachan want the constitutional referendum planned for November 6 to be delayed. But the MPs say it's not about delaying the referendum, but ensuring that Bahamians understand the issues.
We're not asking for a delay. We want it now. However, having regard to where we are in terms of the issues raised by important stakeholder groups in our country and the fact that the bill remains in committee, there's some realities about the time. And so we're looking at the realities of that time.
Steadfast and, as the Bible would say, immovable in our position with regard to the equality of women in our Constitution, and we are united as female parliamentarians. And in fact, the article did not address the fact that Senator Heather Hunt was present with us in the meeting and in the interview.
Educational process is one that we have to go through. We have to seek to answer all the questions that are going to be asked before we go to the referendum, and we want to be sure that we have a level of comfort in terms of the degree of knowledge that our people have before they have to go to the referendum polls. So while we do not want a delay, we recognize that in the reality of the situation, that it may actually require one.
Well, we reached out to Deputy Leader of the Opposition, Loretta Butler-Turner, for her take on the matter, but she declined comment. Meanwhile, a national campaign by present and former female parliamentarians is expected to be launched to educate the public on the proposed changes to the Constitution.
The questions raised by the Christian Council has delayed the process. There was a certain timeline, and those questions that they've raised, or concerns, they are being addressed, and so it has affected the movement of the process. And it will be a coalition of women, bipartisan, and it will include former parliamentarians on both sides of the political divide. From a political point of view, we will be pushing the agenda. Of course, you have the educational process by the Commission, but this is what our commitment is going to be.
In other news tonight, the Bahamas Telecommunications Company to pay up after it was fined by ERCO for breaching the Communications Act.
Well, the phone company has to pay nearly $250,000 for preventing fair market access to its competitors.
BTC CEO Leon Williams told Genea Noel-Ferguson today what this means for the company and ongoing plans to improve the quality of service.
So we have written some checks in the neighborhood of almost $1 million to ERCO.
And that's for those hefty fines handed down by regulators for BTC's uncompetitive behavior. Systems Resorts Group Limited, a subsidiary of Cable Bahamas, had filed a complaint against BTC, claiming that it could not sell its Indigo calling cards to some wholesalers because of their exclusivity agreement with BTC. Williams said BTC was also fined an $850,000 fee to ERCO's appeal tribunal. The company, he says, has learned its lesson.
Means that we have to work smarter, and that we must recognize that there is an authority above and beyond that of the company. And when I say that there is a regulatory authority in the country, that the laws have teeth in them, and that when they give you advice, and they suggest to you to modify your behavior, then you should modify your behavior.
Meanwhile, Williams said BTC hopes to improve customer satisfaction, noting that some 20 new network towers need to be built.
The most difficult task right now is site acquisitions. Getting a place that you can either buy the land, lease the land to put up towers. Most people want good cellular services, but most people don't want a tower in their backyard. So that's a major challenge. Unlike the United States, where you see little towers because they are high-rise buildings, the antennas are usually placed on the buildings. But there are not enough buildings of that height in New Providence or in Freeport to give us the coverage. So as a result of that, we end up having to build towers.
And Williams acknowledged that the clock is ticking before competition enters the market. BTC is strongly depending on customer loyalty.
Any new competitor is going to have their own issues themselves. And so there will always be problems with technical networks. It's a major challenge. In the case of BTC, I refer to the employees that this is flight BTC 242. And that's the flight number, 242 BTC. We've got an aircraft that is having some engine problems. Somebody has to go out on the wing and fix the engine. It's surgery, and we're performing that surgery while we're in flight.
Now, Williams says repairs to the network are ongoing and consumers can expect some improvements by the end of October. Genea, Noel-Ferguson, ZNS Network News.
Cabinet has approved an agreement between the Bahamas Hospital Authority and the Bahamas Public Services Union for a new $10 million industrial agreement. The announcement coming moments ago will see members of the bargaining unit at all government medical facilities get an across-the-board increase. The increases are as follows. A lump sum payment totaling more than $1 million could come as early as this week. An increase in base pay for BPSU members in the fourth year of the agreement totaling $1,200 per worker. This lump sum will be in addition to the normal increments and will cost the PHA more than $2.5 million. In the fifth year of the deal, workers will receive another lump sum increment payment. In addition, EMS staff will get medical coverage as well as increases in hazard pay and transportation allowance. This deal will be signed on Thursday, September 11th, and comes just 2 months after the Public Hospital Authority closed the deal with the doctors' union. Negotiations with the nurses' union continues. Well, President of the Bahamas Public Services Union, John Pinder, tonight is encouraging his members not to participate in a proposed general strike that's expected to take shape tomorrow.
Well, Pinder said the BPSU does not have a receipt or certificate to have a strike at this time. Additionally, he says the union is now in the process of ironing out several outstanding matters with government and does not want to do anything to jeopardize those negotiations.
The government has already today approved the contract for the Public Hospitals Authority, which means that all those persons at the hospitals will be getting their monies on Friday. I think that was a bone of contention among those group of persons. In addition to that, I spoke to the Prime Minister to also address the outstanding hazard pay for the persons at the Ministry of Works and Environmental Health, in addition to approving the payments for the Antique and Monuments contract. We left the Bahamas Mogul Corporation a while ago, which we already gotten their counter proposal. We should meet and conclude that tomorrow sometime. And so we are of the view that the government is working with us as best they can in these hard economic times.
Meanwhile, while there are many who feel the relationship between the Department of Public Services is expected to regularize, while there are many who feel the relationship between the BPSU and other unions will be strained after this decision, Mr. Pinder says that he has a different view. He does not believe the concerns raised by another union are enough to call a general strike.
Other umbrella organization to give us a list of concerns, fundamental concerns that is impacting their membership or workers in our country, for us to give consideration to joining them in any strike. I am not satisfied that there's any fundamental issues that affect workers from that other organization that would cause us to, me, as leader of my organization, being the Tues, the NCTU, and the Bahamas Public Services Union, to ask our members to get involved in anything.
Meanwhile, Pinder says the Department of Public Services is expected to regularize those employees who have worked in the service for 1 year or more. Contract workers will also be given pensionable status to borrow funds from lending institutions, which Mr. Pinder feels will allow them to live a better life. Additionally, Pinder says those persons owed hazardous pay and minimum wage will get the money in the next package.
Well, Aviation Minister Glenys Hanna-Martin says there are some concerns at the control tower at the Lyndon Pinling International Airport and repairs are needed. However, there's no need for employees to fear as they are moving to address the matter.
Concerns raised by air traffic controllers and specifically the union about conditions in the TRACON building. Minister Strawn and myself went there and did a physical inspection. We carried with us a public analyst from the Department of Environmental Health Services who has now completed his report. He's made certain recommendations as to remedial work that has to be done, and we're now moving immediately to effect the remedial work. But his finding ultimately was that there was no health risk in the building, but there were issues that he said had to be addressed, which affected the standard of the work environment. And so we are moving quickly to get that work done.
And coming up, how is BAMSI fighting unemployment on Andros?
Also, do the police hang on for another day in Government League basketball action? Find out coming up. You're watching The Bahamas Tonight.
Segment of the news is brought to you by Shell Quality Fuels.